Hello and welcome to this week's travel show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. I have two guests on this week and they're quite a mix. Later on in the show I'll be speaking to Stephen Hurp. He represents the Jordanian Tourist Board in London. With Monarch saying they're not going to Sharm and for the foreseeable future and there's still problems getting out there, there are some alternatives. Monarch are flying to Israel instead now for Red Sea resorts. Or, of course, you can just try Jordan, and we'll be finding out what you can see and do if you do choose that particular option. But my first guest is Beth Bailey. She's from Premier Cottages. The cottages in the UK, but I don't want to go into too much about it at the moment because she's obviously going to be telling us about it in a few minutes. But I was drawn to Premier Cottages because they do a range of dog-friendly cottages, and as you know, I do have my own dog. He sometimes appears on the show by accident, and it's getting harder and harder to take him away on go away on holiday because it means leaving him in the kennels, and we're getting very soft. So a UK holiday and taking Max with us would be the ideal solution. But anyway, before I give too much more away about Beth's interview, let's get on with it and find out who Premier Cottages are.
Premier Cottages is a collective of owners of luxury self-catering properties who get together to jointly market. We're not an agency, we're a cooperative.
So where do you cover?
We have properties all over the UK and Ireland. We've got a total of 894 cottages in about 250 locations.
You said you're a collective and not an agency. Can you just explain the difference for us, please?
Well, Premier Cottages was formed about 20 years ago by most of our members are professional self-caterers. Most of them have more than one cottage. The average is about five, just under five. And they're not second homes. They are holiday cottages which are run professionally by the owners. And so most of our owners don't want to go with an agency and pay 30% to an agency who take the booking but don't do any of the cleaning.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good value for money, does it?
Not if you're not a hobbyist. I mean, it's really a good agency market is great if you want to kind of make some pocket money from your extra house. But if you're trying to run it as a professional business, then someone else taking 30% out of your revenue it doesn't make good economic sense to us.
So the booking isn't through you, it's direct with the owners. Is there anything the holiday makers should be aware for financial protection? Is there any tips you recommend for people making bookings?
Well, there was obviously a lot of noise in the press, particularly around the time of the Olympics and every skiing season, with bogus listings on some of the listing sites. The other thing that makes Premier Cottages different is that we're not just a listing site, we are a cooperative. So you can't join unless you've been inspected by us and by Visit England. So we don't have any, none of our properties are at risk of being a bogus listing that doesn't really exist. But you have the reassurance of knowing that they have been individually inspected by us. Obviously, we do always recommend that guests should take out holiday cancellation insurance if in the event that they do need to cancel. And obviously these things sometimes do happen, but guests should be aware that if they make a booking, then they do have a liability for the balance payments, even if they have to cancel. So that is then covered by their holiday cancellation insurance.
You said that each property is inspected by yourselves and Visit England. If somebody's listening and wants to list their cottages, how long would that take?
Well, that rather depends on the time of year and other factors like that. You know, how much their workload is. Visit England and Visit Wales and Visit Scotland and Visit Ireland, they have a certain number of inspectors that cover each region. So it just depends on fitting you into the calendar. And if you're there at a more popular time of year, that might take longer. And, you know, you may want to have your inspection on the changeover day, not when guests are in situ. So, but it doesn't take months and months. So all our members have to be inspected every year. And then, so it just comes up with your annual renewal, basically.
Oh, so you're inspected as well. So there's the initial inspection and then there's the annual one. So
yes, because obviously if you don't carry on investing in your business, what looked like a fantastic property on the first day, after a few seasons of battering by guest suitcases being slid down the stairs and things, and small sticky paw prints on the upholstery, they can suffer from wear and tear. So you do need to carry on investing, and that's why we request that all our guests are inspected annually, just to make sure that the grading is maintained.
And when I was an agent, finding accessible accommodation, especially when it's self-catering, was more than a challenge in most cases. Has this improved over the last 5 years?
I think that awareness has improved, and obviously now all accommodation providers have a legal obligation to provide an access statement. So on every property's own website, you should find an access statement, and I would really recommend that guests look at that to see that the property meets their needs. The other thing is there's a scheme called the National Accessible Scheme, which is part of the Visit England grading system, and that assesses properties on a voluntary basis. Not every property is assessed for accessibility, but it assesses properties for mobility, visual impairment, and hearing impairment. So that's a really good scheme. If you are, for example, a wheelchair user, then you would look for an NAS M3 or M3 sign, and then you are guaranteed that property would meet the requirements of a full-time wheelchair user. Because occasionally you do get people who say, "Oh yes, you can get a wheelchair in here. We're on the ground floor throughout," and the owner may have forgotten that there might be in the accessible bathroom with a nice wide door, there may be a shower tray with a 6-inch lip, which then means that you have to be a soap lodger all week. We do have 466 properties which have ground floor facilities. Some of them will be suitable for wheelchairs, but the only ones that we allow to claim that they are wheelchair accessible on the website are the ones which are graded under the National Accessible Scheme. So we've made it really easy on our website. We've got a full accessibility section in the filters, and you can search under the different types. And then again, I would, as I say, recommend that guests, if they have access needs, also look at the individual property's access statement.
Sounds a lot easier than when I was doing it all those years ago. I remember ringing round and saying, "Are you wheelchair friendly?" Yes, you have to go up a step first before you get into the building.
Well, that's the thing, because a lot of people don't actually know if they are or if they aren't. I've got a fully wheelchair accessible cottage myself. One of my cottages is accessible, and on my website I put lots of helpful information for visitors with access needs. But when I was ringing up pubs and restaurants and visitor attractions saying, "Are you accessible?" the first response was generally, "What's that?" And the second one was often, "I suppose they could probably get into the loo." And you kind of think, well, if you have to think about it, you're not.
No. I say, yes, the loo's downstairs, there's no lift. That sort of thing used to come up a lot.
Yeah. Yes.
You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com. Still to come, all you need to know about visiting Jordan for your next holiday, or you could stay closer to home and stay at a Premier Cottage. We've been talking about the basics of Premier Cottages, and now we're going to talk about one or two of Beth's own properties. And she's going to explain how they're accessible, and if you're looking for an accessible cottage, what you should look out for. You just said you've got a fully accessible property. Do you have any others on offer?
I have 4 cottages. They're sleep 2, 4 and 6, and 2 of them together often get booked as a 10. We're very dog friendly, we're very baby friendly, and in Premier Cottages we've created lots of new collections. So we've got 2 dog collections, for example, one of which is Dogs Accepted, which does what it says on the tin, and the other one is Dogs Welcome, where the owners really go the extra mile to make sure your dog is welcome. They'll give a doggy welcome hamper, they'll provide throws and towels and poo bags and poo bins and that kind of thing. And the same with the baby friendly collection. We provide loads of kit, not just a stair gate and a high chair and a cot. trying to make it easy for guests going on holiday and free up boot space a bit, which is always at a premium.
Not even having any kids, I'm not too sure about the baby stuff, but as a dog owner, that sounds really great because it's getting harder and harder to leave my dog in the kennels when I go away. We have to start going somewhere in the UK and take him with us, so we know we can go somewhere which is really friendly for him.
Yeah, and there's a lot, certainly at Premier Cottages, we've encouraged our members to become not just dogs accepted, but to become really dog friendly. It's now easier to find, 4 and 5 star properties that do accept dogs and that will really welcome your dog and enable your dog to have a great holiday as well as you.
So it's easy to find these properties just by using the filter on your website?
Absolutely. We've got filters, but also we've got a collection, so you can look at the dog-friendly collection. You'll see all the cottages, and then you can filter by region or by dates. But we haven't forgotten those people who don't like dogs. We've also got a brand new collection coming, which is a dog-free, because we know that while a third of us own dogs and love dogs, there are also people who really don't like them or are allergic to them and don't want to go in a cottage where there's been a dog. So we've got a collection just for you as well.
Yes, I can see why people sometimes don't want to go where a dog's been. Yeah.
Well, hopefully they're all cleaned very thoroughly in between, and you wouldn't know. But
now my dog's in the next room and he's just eating something. I don't know what he's eating, but he's letting me know that he's around anyway.
Yes, I have 2 mastiffs, so I can understand your pain.
How can we find out more about Premier Cottages?
Well, we have a lovely website, which is www.premiercottages.co.uk, and we also have a really gorgeous brochure. And if you go on the website, then you can request a brochure. It's a great thing to sit there with on a rainy Saturday afternoon with a nice cup of tea or something stronger, and have a flick through and plan your next holiday.
So you still do proper printed brochures?
We do, because we do a lot of market research. We do ask our guests if they still want one or not. Believe me, we wouldn't bother if they didn't. No. And yes, we still get most people saying how much they enjoy it. But we now do have an unsubscribe option on our website as well. So if we sent you one and you didn't want it, you can request not to have one next year. That way we'll all save paper.
Okay, thanks, Beth. Thank you for your time.
Oh, it was lovely talking to you. Thanks very much indeed.
If you didn't manage to make a note with the website, just like every other week, all the websites mentioned on the show will be found at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. My 200th show's coming up in a couple of weeks, and I haven't finalised it yet, so if there's anything you want to see in particular focused on the 200th travel show, then please do let me know via the Facebook.